This is a dirt track before the assault. The assault by men and machines. The same team that blazes over the famed Indianapolis Speedway. The fastest drivers in the world. The most powerful cars. Once again unleash brute force and nerves of steel to challenge the oiled dirt of Langhorne. The fastest, most thrilling 100 miles in racing.
The Indy 500 was and is the premier event in that series, but some of the most interesting and exciting racing occurred on the dirt tracks. Steeped in history, the big round oval at Langhorne, Pennsylvania hosted its first point-paying championship race way back in 1930. Bill Cummings won it in a Miller. From the end of World War II until its demise in '71, Langhorne hosted a championship event every year but two. Now, this 1963 running of the 100-miler came just as the 16-year supremacy of the Offenhauser engine was finally being challenged. Accepting the Pikes Peak hill climb, which also counted toward the title, the Offies hadn't lost a race since September of 1946. Covering the Langhorne action, June 23, 1963, were Les Kiter and pit reporter Chris Economaki.
To Langhorne come the cars of Indianapolis, bred to near perfection. They are the results of years of revolutionary design changes, use of space-age lighter-weight metals in body and chassis, different size tires with different tread designs, and V8 engines to challenge the incomparable Offenhausers. To Langhorne also come their drivers, the crown princes of racing. Parnelli Jones, 1963 Indy 500 winner, who broke all records in his victory drive. Jones will be wheeling J.C. Agajanian's Offie-powered Willard Battery Special. The spectacular speedster from Torrance, California, leads in the race for national championship honors and has run the horn in 3 previous title events, but today will be broadsiding here for his first win. This man is looking for his 3rd consecutive win. Reporter Chris Economaki, editor of National Speed Sports News, quizzes.
A.J. Foyt of Houston, Texas, Indianapolis winner and 2-time national champion and one of the favored drivers in today's 100-mile championship here at the Langhorne Speedway. A.J., most of the championship racing is contested on asphalt tracks. Langhorne Speedway is a dirt track. Can you tell us about the difference in driving the 2 kinds of tracks?
Well, actually, on the paved racetracks, Chris, you try to run as straight and as smooth as possible. Here at Langhorne, you're constantly in a broad slide, and it's more or less a full-wheel drift. And you run considerably a little faster here than you do on most of the mile tracks. I mean, maybe by 10 or 11 miles an hour per lap faster. I don't pick one particular track to the other ones. The dirt tracks, you get real rough and real dusty, are possible more dangerous than paved tracks. But then again, you can turn that around and say if a lot of oil is spilt on a paved track, that it gets just as dangerous as a dirt track. So I imagine they more or less equal themselves about out.
These drivers have few peers and no superiors. In speedway racing, they are the professionals. Their fraternity allows only the fastest to enter. But speed and track punish both machine and man. Jimmy McElreath, 1962 Rookie of the Year, can attest to this.
Jim, Langhorne has been described as a tough track. Many a driver has pulled in and asked for relief here. How tough is it?
Well, Chris, it's I've just ran the track twice, but it gets real rough down in the lower end down here, and it really jerks you around quite a bit.
Is it very tiring physically? What part of your body wears out first?
Well, it takes you all over your arms more than anything else, I suppose.
But sheer endurance and guts are not the driver's only qualification. He must also know his car in order to effect subtle changes in its performance. This knowledge and desire for speed even creates a complete redesign, as we find in Jim Hurtubise's fiery number 9.
You've experimented a lot. You're going with smaller wheels and new kind of tires today. You think they're going to work in your favor?
Right, I'm trying these Goodyears. Chris, they're a little softer rubber, and the tire and the wheel is a lot lighter than the big 18-inch. I think it'll help us when the track gets a little rough. And the softer rubber, seeing that you're in a corner all the way around here, will help us by the fact that they get better traction.
How about a pit stop? You think you get 100 miles out of them?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure I will. You don't wear them too bad here, and as good as they're sticking, I'm sure they won't wear.
But any combination of driver and machine could never carry the checkered flag if it were not for the mechanic. His aptitude and dexterity give him alone mastery over this hybrid of the track. His sole purpose in racing, to develop and mold a machine that will compete and endure at fantastic speeds. His inventive genius and performance in the maintenance of his car provide an unmatched thrill when the prize is won. Such a man is Jack Beckley, Bobby Marshman's chief mechanic on number 5. Chris Economaki asks him about the Offenhauser engine.
The engine is a four-cylinder engine with a double overhead cams. And with the fuel injectors, we run the straight alcohol.
How about the horsepower?
Well, with the 255 cubic inches and 410 horsepower.
What about the cost to buy this engine?
Well, this engine runs around $10,500.
But the trend is seeking better performance at lower cost.
Wally Meskowski, one of the first mechanics to switch from the Offenhauser to the Chevrolet engine. Can you tell us why?
Well, Chris, I couldn't afford an Offenhauser, and a Chevrolet is approximately 1/3 of what an Offenhauser runs in price.
How about getting the Chevy engine ready for racing? Is this an expensive process?
Well, it costs around $4,000.
Is it as reliable as the Offenhauser?
I think it's a little more reliable.
And even Offie wrench-turner Beckley sees a change coming.
If you had your way, what kind of an engine would you use if 4s, 6s, V8s, and so forth were available?
Well, I think that the trend is going to be to the V8, definitely.
But so far, the many attempts to challenge the famous Offie power plant have ended in failure. The rugged four-cylinder brute continues to dominate speedway racing as it has for the last 30 years. It rarely loses at Indianapolis, and on the dirt of Langhorne, the Offie speaks with proud authority. A perfect day for racing. Temperature in the upper 80s and clear skies. Warm-up laps have begun, giving the fans a taste of what is yet to come.
Meskowski, one of the nation's leading drivers, at one of the tracks he does the best on. Roger, you've had a lot of bad luck recently with late race spins. How do you think you'll do here today at Langhorne?
Well, we're hoping we'll break all that nonsense, Chris, and win this dude today.
It's pretty hot, Roger. I noticed a lot of the drivers are perspiring. It's probably one of the hottest days a race has ever been held on. How's this going to affect you and the race?
Well, it probably will make the race pretty tough on everybody, because when it gets hot, as you know, it's oil dirt here, and it pulls the oil up out of the racetrack and makes it kind of slick. But as far as the heat goes with myself, I come from warm country, so it doesn't bother me too much.
Langhorne is a fatiguing track. There are other dirt tracks, but none are circular. Langhorne is unique. It has a personality all its own. Its circle of oil dirt makes it the fastest one-mile track in the world. Bobby Marshman tells why he likes Langhorne.
For one reason, because it's close to home, and I like a track where you can really, as they say in racing, you can stand on the gas, and this is one place where you can do it. You just put your foot down on the throttle and go as fast as you want.
Another Indy performer is Chuck Holt. Holt likes dirt and likes Langhorne.
Well, the track's in real good shape. It's fast. Some of the times kind of show that. It looks like it's going to hold up real good. There's a few ruts, but they're in a position where I don't believe they're going to hurt anybody at all.
Ago, Langhorne had no rough spots. The track was torn open and churned over and over. As the first step in conditioning a firm racing surface. Then it was graded, rolled, and lightly sprayed with a dust coat of oil. Crankcase oil, 2,500 gallons of it. The year 1963 marks the 27th running of Indianapolis-type cars and drivers in the Horn 100. It's the second oldest on the championship trail, and is referred to by the racing fraternity as the Big Left Turn. It possesses the accepted American and world standard for 1 mile, as well as the 100-mile event, both established by Don Branson, who will be racing today. His mile lap speed of 113 miles per hour in 1960, and his 100-mile average of 104 miles per hour set in 1962. Speed and Langhorne are synonymous. This circle of clay and oil, packed hard to withstand the onslaught of machine and man, relentlessly gives of itself and also takes its toll. During time trials, record holder Don Branson's Leader Card Special develops fuel pump trouble. Attempts at repairs fail. and Branson's role is reduced to that of a spectator. Also out is Parnelli Jones in the Agajanian 98. But Jones drives a borrowed mount, Bob Tattersall's number 27, and qualifies in 8th position by turning the track in 34 seconds.
Well, Parnelli, what happened to your Agajanian Willard Battery Special?
Well, Chris, I believe we, and I'm not sure of this, but I believe we lost half time gear, which is part of regular timing gear of a
Finishes the engine for the day.
Well, it certainly does. You can't run it in that condition. In fact, it won't even start.
Running hard to the pole position, Jim Hurtubise in Meskowski's Chevy Streamliner clocked 110 miles per hour, giving the Offie contingent something to really worry about.
Jim, you've turned in a very fast qualifying time. It looks like you're going to be starting on the pole in the 100-miler today. You've won a lot of races here at Langhorne. How do you like the track?
Well, Langhorne's my favorite track, Chris. It's a real racetrack. You got to really stand on it and drive to go fast here, and I like the place. I've won a lot of races here, and of course I've always run in the front, and this is my moneymaker.
We will have a lineup for you in just a moment. The surviving 13 drivers from a field of 20 will take to the track today in this, the 27th running of Indy cars in the 100-miler at Langhorne. Here's the way the cars will come out to the starting line. Are you ready, Mr. Reed? Gentlemen, start your engine. The start of the 100-mile championship at Langhorne with Indianapolis-type cars and drivers. In the parade lap behind the pace car, the lineup looks like this. Jim Hurtubise on the pole with Chuck Hulse also in the front line. Next is A.J. Foyt and Roger McElreath. Johnny Rutherford with Bobby Marshman. In 7th position is Jimmy McElreath with Indy champ Parnelli Jones starting 8th. Rounding out the 13 starters are Bob Methauser, Ronnie Duman, Arnie Knepper, Ralph Ligori, and Bob Parkey. Coming out of the 4th turn, formation looks good. USAC flagman Pat Vadan thinks so too, and gives them the green. As was expected, Hurtubise jumps off fast, leading Hulse, Foyt, Marchman, Meskowski, McElreath, and Jones. Setting a blistering pace, Hurtubise leads the Offies, clocking better than 106 miles per hour on the 2nd lap. Chuck Hulse, number 10, holds 2nd, with A.J. Foyt in 3rd position, and a fast Bobby Marshman 4th. On lap number 5, Bobby Marshman, driving hard in his Econo Car Special, presses Foyt. And he takes the Houston pilot in the backstretch to nail down 3rd. The grandstands, Hurtubise widens the gap on runner-up Hulse. Meskowski's number 9 is the only Chevy running today, and in this position lends support to the V8 prophecy. In the backstretch, Hurtubise laps tail-ender Bob Parkey and lays a bead on Knepper. Marshman bolts into 2nd and dogs Hurtubise for the lead. Hercules almost loses it, and Marshman pours it on. Marshman charges at full throttle and high off the fourth turn takes the lead. Hurtubise seems to be having trouble with his competition engineering specials, and Wilson and Foyt take the opportunity to roar into second and third. The only local entry, Bobby Marshman in number 5 from Pottstown, PA, pulls out all stops. At Indianapolis, Bobby spun with only 10 laps to go while in 7th position, but is showing great skill as he bids for his first win in the Horn 100. First half finds Foyt getting stronger, and A.J. takes second from Holt. Holt comes in on lap 52, and crewmen hurriedly look under the hood of his team Van Line Special. Magneto trouble is diagnosed, and the blue and white car and the Downey Daredevil from California call it a day. Signal from the pits tells Jones he is third, in front of Hurtubise and McElreath. An overheated engine brings in the Federal Engineering 15, and Meskowski is forced to sit the remainder out. Marshman continues to ride the rim with a 20-second advantage over second man Foyt, while Jones stubbornly holds on to third. It looks good for Marshman as he sets the pace, turning the circle better than 105 miles per hour. On the 61st lap, a surprised crowd sees Marshman tap his helmet, the signal for relief. He has led for 35 laps, but the fast pace, the heat, fumes, and dust are too much for Marshman. Foyt roars by to inherit the lead, floorboarding his Sheridan Thompson Special, as Jones and Hurtubise follow. On the 64th lap, Marshman comes in. Don Branson, who's been spectating since the demise of his leader car special in practice, jumps into the cockpit. Chief Mechanic Beckley keeps the Offie alive as crewmen replace the right rear tire, and an exhausted Bobby Marshman looks on. It takes 39 4/10 seconds to change driver and tire. Branson is on his way, still buckling his safety harness. Branson finds himself 2 laps behind leader Foyt and in 6th position. Number 8 has pushed into second in front of Jones and Hurtubise. Hurtubise is having tire trouble and is pacing himself so his tire doesn't blister. Branson, just getting the feel of number 5, doggedly thrusts at Foyt's tail, pushing the leader to a 12-second lead on McElreath. The scoreboard shows 20 laps to pay dirt in this order. Foyt, McElreath, Jones, Hurtubise, and Meskowski. But the Arizona ace has pushed too hard, and Meskowski comes in with a shredded tire. An earlier request to change this tire went unheeded. A disgusted McElreath climbs from the car. It's too late now with too few laps remaining. Pulls on to second. With his engine missing, Jones gives way to Hurtubise. Branson moves up 1 into 5th, but has failed to circle Foyt. A.J. is in full command now, and with a half-mile lead, rams through the clocks at 104 miles per hour. It's 3 in a row for A.J. as the checkered flag finds McElreath second, the only other starter completing 100 miles. Hurtubise in third, Jones fourth, Branson fifth, followed by Dumans, Rutherford, Liguori, and Harkey. Foyt was timed in 57 minutes, 37 and 5/100 seconds, for a speed of 104.136 miles per hour. Quarter Economaki congratulates the winner.
Congratulations, A.J. What happened out there in the late stages?
Thank you, Chris. I think we developed magneto trouble after about 70 laps because it started mixing them up quite bad, but she lasted today, and as long as you can get in victory lane, that's all we're working for.
Did you have any trouble yourself outside of this engine problem late in the race?
Not late in the race, Chris. At the beginning of the race, we put an old tire on the right rear, hoping that we wouldn't have to blister tires. You might recall always this second race of the year, we've always blistered tire here, so we put a wore-out tire on the right rear that didn't have too much rubber, and it went the distance today.
How about that? Some great race strategy. Today's winner, A.J. Foyt.
Today's victory gives Foyt his third consecutive win in the 100-mile national championship at Langhorne. Earlier this season, the Texas Broad Slider won the first of two sprint events, then took a 150-mile national for stocks. His victory in the feature for Indianapolis cars and drivers brings him 200 valuable points and closer to Jones in the race for the national championship. And so it ends. The classic century at Langhorne, the fastest, most grueling 100 miles in racing.